Okay, joining me today is Aaron van der Brugge, I hope I pronounced that right, and Chancler
Yes.
Harrison. They are the producer and co-producer, artist, and level designer of RosePortal Games,
Yeah,
and their
that's
current game they're working on is called Unraveled,
Till
Tale
the Shipbreaker
of the
started.
Shipbreaker's Daughter. Thank you very much, guys, for
Yes.
joining me. How's it going?
Thank you. Hi. It's going great.
Doing well, thank you.
Just
Very
so
well.
everyone knows, we are in three different time zones. I'm in Toronto. It's almost 1 o'clock p.m. Aaron, you're what, 8 hours off?
Yeah, I'm now GMT +2, the Netherlands.
And Chancellor, you're 3 hours behind me, I think.
Yep.
Jeez.
I'm in
Still morning there.
California. Yeah,
California.
I'm in California.
Now.
Okay,
It's
so
cloudy.
we have this weird
Never
multicultural
happens.
time zone
Yep.
thing going. Okay, cool. So let me try to frame this for some people who are unfamiliar with this project. You guys are following a show don't tell sort of principle.
Yeah, that's correct.
And you can sort of get that when you watch your video. There's only like one line of dialogue in the whole game. It's a different language, and then it's just all gameplay and cutscenes. And that's different because a lot of Kickstarter videos just have people say, "I'm Bob and I want to make this," and you don't do that. You're ready to go. Now, let's just sort of frame this world. The setting is that of a shipbreaker yard, or at least that's one of the environments. There's jumping in the environment. You can shimmy across it. There's a
Hmm.
bright forest, greens and whatnot. Then there's underwater level, and
Hmm.
I think in one of the cutscenes, the girl is on top of a
Tower.
tower
Yeah.
that's, I think, in a.
It's inspired by what do you think it's inspired by? Actually, can you guess? It's a very old movie with Judy Garland.
Yeah, I was thinking Twister as well because I was like, what the devil
Yeah,
is
yeah,
going?
that's close. Yeah, close
Okay,
enough.
so we have all these
We'll say
crazy.
Twister. Why
Okay,
not?
we have all these crazy environments. That's
Yeah.
one thing to make you go, hmm. Then you have the visuals, and they look like Chrono Trigger, and your mind goes, oh boy, I love Chrono Trigger. And then there's that. Then you have this toy. It starts off as a child's toy, then it grows up into a giant bear, and it looks like a combination of My Neighbor Totoro and Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Yay.
That's
Okay.
very spot on.
Yep.
That's a really
Okay,
great
you got
description.
that, and then on top of that, you have the musician from Secret of Mana. That's Hiroki Kikuta.
Yes.
And that just like all these things, I just like this is the most eclectic looking game I've ever seen on Kickstarter.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
and there's more. And this is a game based on real events. And
Yep.
it's a very sad story of, I believe, the Wire Nest, a documentary on the shipbreaker
Yeah.
yards and all the poverty and people with acetylene torches with no protection, cutting off metal and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you've got a big strange and how are you guys, like, how did you come to this amalgamation of crazy ideas and people? What was going through your heads, like, hey Aaron, we got to do this, man. Okay, Chancellor, let's do it. Like, how did you guys come together and figure this all out?
Well, Chancellor, do you wanna explain?
Uh,
'Cause
sure.
You brought the subject of shipbreaking to me, so
Yeah, I brought it up to Aaron because for some reason I have a fascination with the way the world kind of takes back what humans build. So I think that's a really beautiful thing. So I was looking up how, I don't know, I got into looking at, ships and how they deteriorate. And then I found out that ships are basically recycled after, just a few years. Like I thought ships lasted, like 100 years for some reason, but they're only good for about 30 years. So I just found out they take the ships and they beach them.
you had a very poetic way of saying that, something about memories being deconstructed.
Yeah, it's neat how people like a cruise ship. People were on these cruise ships and they have memories, but yet 30 years after that, those ships are completely
Erased. Yeah.
erased, and then they're just metal and emptiness, and then it becomes someone else's life. So you take something that used to be luxury or something that was used as a tool, and it's now used to break into stuff, sheet metal and stuff like that for recycling for other things.
It's kind of romantic in a sad way, not literally romantic, but you know what I mean. And it also like ties into because all of my games kind of have a dream thematic, like there are dream worlds, or it's not really actually taking place. So with Unraveled, we wanted to take the little girl and focus on her imagination, and like really show the game from her point of view and how she perceives the world, and how she is looking at everything, instead of showing literally what's happening. We wanted to show like her emotion and how it influences everything.
You took a really bad subject. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that. There's a quote I like from you guys. We love to work with elements of human nature in the real world that are barely covered in commercial games: alcoholism, homosexuality, domestic violence, addiction. You want to take these really, topics that no one touches and throw them into your worlds. I think you were just about to talk about that, Chancler.
Yeah, just from something that it's never even something I've even thought about, and then take that and add the human element of how something gets broken down to, and then just the way people are treated. It's something that we don't talk about. I didn't know that this even happened. It's crazy that it still happens today, and just when you start reading about it, it gets really depressing very quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've never been on a cruise ship before, and it was something I always wanted to do, but after doing this, I don't like being reminded of it, and it's that's something we do.
I would recommend a riverboat cruise. Bit cleaner, bit smaller.
Yeah.
just my personal experience. Okay, Aaron was talking about imagination before, and you're dealing with mature themes, so you're taking a very sort of child innocence and you're putting it into this harsh, gritty world. And then you have all this imagination, you have all this toy coming to life and protecting her. Is this a metaphor for what you're trying to say, that this childhood is going away as you grow up, and your innocence is becoming lost, and she's looking for strength and protection, and she finds it in herself? Like what is this story about, really?
That's actually, you're saying that really well, because the whole story shows stuff that's going on like at that moment in her head, but the events kind of show what happened before the game. For example, there's this. Can I give spoilers in this interview?
You shouldn't. You should not do that, because I'm going to hate you, and then this is
okay,
yeah.
Well, I can just say that the way she's feeling, like her emotions, it influences what she sees. And okay, how can I say this without giving spoilers? Some really bad stuff happened in her life to her family, and during the game she processes those events, and you see like visual symbolism. And for example, there's a thunderstorm level where it's like raining into the ship, and there's like thunder everywhere, and that specific area symbolizes her processing her anger about the loss of a certain family member, stuff like that.
Now, you mentioned about losing things and whatnot, and the title of the story is Unraveled, and there's two aspects to that. There's the actual toy which is unraveling, and there's the actual level of the ship, which is literally being destroyed.
Yeah,
and
also the story itself, which is unraveling as you play and discover what happened.
So you're really trying to get as much symbolism as you can, let alone the title.
I love symbolism, Stephen.
I'm not going to attack someone
with
a magical gun that looks like a pie or anything. I'm not going to, it's not going to be the pie of death and the guy explodes into butterflies.
Can I tell you something?
We should add that in there. I like that idea.
I should stop talking.
Chancler is really good at, I don't want to say childish stuff, that sounds bad. I mean like childlike material, upbeat, lighthearted, and I'm more like dark stuff, so we balance each other out like really well.
That's different. I noticed the character design reminded me, and this is just because I'm a gamer, don't mind me saying things, but it reminded me of the League of Legends character Annie and her little toy Tibbers. And if you know that game, she's a pyromaniac, or she has pyrotechnic abilities, unrelated, but she has a little doll. It's a doll of her teddy bear, and she swings it around, and her ultimate attack is a giant summoning of this little bear into a huge, giant, big bear. And I saw this and I was like, that looks very close to Annie. Obviously, the skin tone and the well,
It's different. Yeah.
a lot different.
That's cool.
But yeah, there's a lot of connections I'm seeing with this game. And it's just like, I got to get you guys on the line.
I
Anyway,
actually haven't played League of Legends. I saw a competition in China, but I haven't
Yeah.
played.
I tried it once, couldn't do it. I
Yeah.
wanted to. I really wanted to get into it, but
okay, well let's talk about combat because that's what we just jumped into, I guess. It's turn-based. You have this interesting system where you have a gauge between anger and calmness,
Yes.
and if you have certain skills or attacks that are based on those two things, that gauge goes up, and that also determines what your defensive ability against an angry attack or a calm attack would be. What is that in relation to the story? Is that just a gameplay thing, or is that just like, okay, we want to have like really angry people or really angry characters, and in order to fight them properly, we have to figure out a proper strategy?
Well, I have to say I absolutely love the battle system because I'm not actually much of a gamer. I only play games that I really, really love.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
And I actually really love the battle system, which is a good sign. I can play Unraveled for like hours and hours.
Oh,
But I have to admit, it's not directly tied into the story. I just came up with a concept for the battle system first.
okay.
And actually, first it wasn't called Calm and Anger. It was called Focus and... What was the other one? Focus and...
I don't remember. We changed it pretty quickly when
we
started.
changed it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the battle system was designed without the story specifically in mind, but then we adopted it to be
Definitely.
more appropriate with skills like Zappy and whoosh, kaboom, stuff like that.
Okay.
The girl's
and-
going through a lot of different emotions, so we wanted to make
Oh.
sure that you can show that, by determining on what's going on in the battle. Battles are big, huge, epic, ordeals in her mind. So
Yeah.
So they're not like random battles. They're actually going to be, here's a set piece, here's another set piece, and that's it. And then we have the story, and you explore.
Yeah. Well, the
Okay.
battles they're all scripted. They're not
Yep.
repetitive and random. They're scripted.
kind of like Chrono Trigger, how you
Yeah.
run around on the map and then you see an enemy, so you could try to avoid it, or you get close, or whatever, and boom.
That's great.
yeah.
That's every time you say Chrono Trigger, I'm like, yes, do it. Yes,
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
And also, there's the other component of the gameplay, which I don't know why it reminded me of Animal Crossing. I think it was the collectability and the customization. I'm not an Animal Crossing guy. I just saw pictures and I thought, hey, look at that. That looks. And you're playing with a dollhouse. You have this giant room, and you're throwing stuff into it. Is that like a trophy you get? Like you did really well at a fight and you get a trophy, because that directly impacts the gameplay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're playing the game, you do well, you go back to your dollhouse, you get some bonus, you customize that, you come back to I don't know, maybe you lost a battle, and you can perhaps get a new skill because of that dollhouse customization. Yeah.
Do you want to?
That's yeah. Well, Aaron in his previous game had a really cool like room building mechanic. So we took that. It was a really popular mechanic. So we wanted something like that, and so we adopted it to the girl's imagination. And since kids in developing countries might not get the newest toys, so they usually get hand-me-downs or things that we get rid of. So when I think of like toys that I had as a kid, I think of a dollhouse that you saw everywhere.
Right.
The little people you play with. So that might be a really cool important toy to her, because she might only have one or two.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to, when you're a kid, you kind of put yourself into what you're playing as. So
Is this a big aspect of gameplay, like collecting all these trophies or all these things, or just an aspect of?
It's more like a side game, like a mini game that you can. It gives you reason to explore the areas instead of forcing the player to explore, and then they can use the points to unlock like furniture and stuff inside of the dollhouse, and they can use that to get bonuses.
Is the dollhouse a physical place? Like, is it actual, like, her dollhouse, or is it in her head? Like, how does this?
Well, most of the game is actually imaginary, so
Oh.
It's not a real dollhouse. It's but in the game,
there.
yeah.
Like she has a dollhouse, probably, you know, in her hut, or played with one at some point.
But yeah,
You know,
it's true.
envisioned the perfect family, because you know it's what those things always kind of represented. So you know, she's kind of rebuilding that perfect family. So
Interesting.
Because what you said at the beginning of the interview, or before you started recording, I forgot. You said that the game has a lot of different areas. You know, you have the shipyard and the forest and underwater. And basically, what happens is that if she sees like a patch of grass somewhere, then she will imagine it to be a forest, and it turns into a forest. And then, you know, you play that. Or she's in a hallway, and the hallway is a little bit flooded, and she will think that the whole thing is underwater. You know, stuff like that. So her imagination goes wild.
Yeah, I was really like, wow, what kind of levels you guys got going there? What can this girl not do? You know, she's fly around in a tornado, go underwater. Okay, it's in her head. That makes more sense now. Okay, great. All right.
She's trying really hard to escape the horrible situation she's put in. So she takes, you know, her sadness and makes them happy, so she can deal with what's going on.
That is a very powerful defense mechanism to envision that sort of reality. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Well, this is the big question that's been on the tip of my tongue. Where is that wonderful thing? Let's see. Here is the soundtrack to, I don't know if you could see it.
Nice.
Secret of Mana.
Secret of Mana. Maybe I'll tell you those guys. There
Nice.
you go.
Awesome.
This is about 20 years old. I've had this on my desk, and
Wow.
yeah, this is how much I was touched by Secret of Mana as a kid. It was made by, or produced by, something called SM Record. This was the only way you could buy this in 1994.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how much of an impact Secret of Mana had on me. Tell me, how the hell did you get in touch with Mr. Kikuta, and how did you get on board with this one?
Well, I guess, okay, so I'll answer that. Basically, when we threw on the idea that, hey, we should take, you know, Unraveled and, you know, let's try Kickstarter, let's see exactly how much of an outreach we can have on the world, since we're doing such a, you know, interesting subject. Let's you know, run with it. Let's make it available to as many people as possible. So, you know, we looked into Kickstarter, and then just doing some research, I was looking up, I think it was like indiegames.com. There was an interview, or there was an article about, you know, tools for, you know, indie developers, things like that. And the article mentioned Scarlet Moon Productions, which is a company in San Diego. And you know, it talks about how they'll help anyone get together with a composer, doesn't matter how big or how small. And because a lot of Japanese artists and Korean artists and other artists, you know, sometimes they do want to work on smaller teams. They don't necessarily want to work on these big, huge projects all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I played around with the idea, and I was like, no, we're only just two people. There's no way that, you know, we're going to get a response. And so, you know, I told Aaron about it, and he was like, and then I was like, well, maybe. And, you know, I was like, let's just do it. And I said, who knows what's going to happen? I probably won't even get a response. Sent an email. I think I got an email like the very next day, or even the same day, from Jason, who is the manager there. And he checked out the project, loved what he saw, and he's great friends with Dale North. And so we just kind of, you know, talked from there. And we, you know, talked about our Kickstarter goal, things like that. And, you know, we didn't really have the composer yet in mind. And, you know, when I saw the list of composers we could possibly choose, Kikuta was on there. I was like, I think he would be perfect because he does such a great job with melodies.
Yeah, exactly.
And we really wanted a strong melody for Unraveled. So Jason got in touch with Kikuta, and he loved the project, which was, you know, a great honor for us that someone, you know, like him actually looked at our project.
Yeah.
And it kind of just, you know, snowballed from there. And, you know, we were like, okay, let's, you know, the only option we had was let's, you know, we'll put him on as a stretch goal because, you know, he's amazing.
This was the first
Kickstarter. No way that right on our first Kickstarter, and he just became more and more a part of the project. From Twitter to just talking through Jason at Scarlet Moon Productions, and and then Dale North was like super excited to work with Kikura, and it just slowly became what it is now. We didn't reach our first Kickstarter goal, so that's why we're back again. And
Right.
Kikura was like, "I'm not going to be a stretch goal anymore. I will do whatever I can to make this happen."
That's
It's he believes in the subject matter, and he likes what he believes in us. So
has
which is great.
has the project changed as a result of his involvement? Like, have you changed design at all?
We're going through right now with music and trying to figure out exactly how we can make everything work. And I would say it's made it it's meant more to us, I think, than anything right now, because that makes us feel amazing, and it's definitely put us, gave us the courage to really push the project out, and do what we can do. So yeah, I think more effort's going into the game, definitely. More love.
Dale North is also an important part of the soundtrack.
Yes.
I don't know. Do you know Dale North?
I don't know him personally. No,
He's also a great composer, and he'll be doing like 30 minutes of music for us. And just yesterday, we were discussing with Dale and Jason about how we're going to do the soundtrack. And how do I pronounce that game? Nier?
Yeah, Nier.
Nier?
Yep.
Do you know that, Stefan?
Yes, I've heard of that.
We're thinking about doing the soundtrack a little bit like that, like layered,
Wow.
which is really cool. So Dale might be on board for that. And of course, Kikuta's track is fantastic, and we can use that melody throughout the entire game.
Well, if you can get anywhere near the quality of Nier or even Secret of Mana, I think
and
that,
Nier,
it would be
that
amazing.
that would be a sale in anyone's, and anyone who knows Super Nintendo back in the day, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would be a number. Bam, let's get that. Holy crap! Yeah, that sells me right there. I mean,
Have you
heard it?
Yeah.
The Nier soundtrack, I haven't played it, but I have heard bits and pieces of the soundtrack. It is a very beautiful pieces of music. I probably should have played the game to see where each fight scene takes place, so I know the context.
The demo is very condensed anyway, so. It's just,
yes, you guys have a demo. Yes, and
if you're listening to this interview, you can play the demo on the Kickstarter.
Yes,
and we have Kikura song in there, so you can get a sneak peek of it. So, sneak here, I guess. Yeah, but
I'm going to download it and check it out. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time, guys. Is there anything else you want to say to this really odd, quirky game you guys are making?
I can't think of anything right now. But it was really fun talking about it. It was really.
We're very thrilled. The game
this is the
amazing.
first interview we've done, so.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll get some more publicity for you going, and I hope everything works out. You got 20 more days, if not more, to.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Great.
And you've got a next interview today or tomorrow?
I just did one with Michael from Art on Code, and I'm doing another one, I believe, on Monday. The X-Wing guys, I think.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
So hey, we're gonna be watching it for the next 2-3 weeks, and
lots of PR. My accent's dying.
It's great.
So if everything works out, what's the release date for this game?
The end of the year is very possible. Yeah.
Great to hear.
We're still working meanwhile, so.
Oh, obviously. I mean, that's a two-man team. You guys got your work cut out for you.
Oh yeah.
Well, oh yeah.
Okay, that was Aaron and Chancler from Unraveled, Tale of the Shipbreaker's Daughter, RosePortal Games. Thank you for your time, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.